Welcome everyone to the Welsh Wire. We are so glad that you joined us for this episode. We are talking about non-family leaders in the family business, a really important topic to a lot of family businesses. And that's why we're co-producing our show today for the Family Business Alliance. The Welsh Wire and the Family Business Alliance have been pleased to work together for a number of years and talk about this important topic and how it affects family businesses. And we'll be talking today with a leader in one of the Hallmark family businesses in West Michigan. We'll be speaking with Nelson Sanchez, our guest. He's the CEO of RoMan Manufacturing. Nelson, welcome to the Welsh Wire.
Thank you, Sheri. It's a pleasure to join you this morning and look forward to our conversation.
As do I. So, Nelson, to kick things off, folks might not know much about your background, who you are, how you came to RoMan, about your progression. So, give us your story.
Well, I'm actually came from Cuba when I was five, immigrated here with my family when I was five, and been in West Michigan my whole life, and went to college at Aquinas and started my career in public accounting there, and worked in public accounting for several years, and then found my way into manufacturing and found that I love manufacturing, and my career has been in financial leadership roles in manufacturing for the bulk of my career. And I found RoMan back in 2013, where I had been working in Muskegon for about 3 years, and said, "Hey, I'm losing my connectivity to the Grand Rapids connections that I had made. I need to get back to Grand Rapids." Started a search. Came across RoMan Manufacturing, and they were in the search for a CFO. Their CFO was planning on retiring, so I came on board as his replacement, and spent a couple years as CFO at RoMan, and from there I moved on to become the Chief Operating Officer, and fulfilled that role for about 6 years, 6, 7 years. And during that whole time, that's one thing that RoMan has been really good at is succession planning and planning for the future and the long game. And so part of the succession, thinking was that potentially, if successful in that COO role, that I could become Bob Roth's successor as CEO for RoMan. And we executed on that plan in 2023 once Bob announced his retirement. Then they picked me to be the first non-family member CEO of RoMan Manufacturing. So it's been my pleasure and honor to follow in his footsteps. Big shoes to fill. He was highly respected and regarded by employees and the community and the business community in general. So yeah, I've been trying to keep up with him and exceed his expectations.
I guess so, right. Big shoes to fill indeed. Oh my goodness. So, and remind us, was Bob one of the founders of the company, Nelson?
No, Bob was actually part of the second generation
The second
of
gen. Okay.
family members. So a little bit of history. RoMan was founded by two families, the Roth and the Hoffman family, hence the name RoMan, the RO from Roth and the capital MAN from the Hoffman side. The two dads struck a partnership together, and they were equal partners that started the business in 1980, 45 years ago. And they each had, children on each side. And the second generation started, and we had Bob from the Roth side, and we had Kurt Hoffman. Actually, we had Bob and Stephanie Carlson, who was a Roth. And then on the Hoffman side, we had Kurt Hoffman and Rob Hoffman, the two boys. And then there are two other siblings, one on each side, both female, that were not working in the business. So there was two from each side that chose to go down the path of working in the business, and one on each side that was not. So the second generation, after I think it was probably in the mid 90s, they took over. The mantle was passed on to them, and Bob assumed the role of CEO, and the others had executive roles, and so. Yeah, and they ran a great business. They continued the legacy from their parents, and here we are 45 years later, and the second generation didn't run it into the ground. They actually advanced it and improved it and made it better and stronger. Um, and there's now third generation being groomed in the business, and part of my job is to try and help groom that and prepare that third generation to take over the mantle here at some point in the future.
So help us understand a little bit about that transition, because you're talking about Bob and some of the other family members involved as being second generation. And when Bob was ready to step away, were there not any other second gen folks that were interested in it? Were they retiring and getting out of the business as well? Were they was third generation, like there was a gap somewhere that led to opportunity for you and brought you to the CEO chair where you're at today? What was going on in that transition?
Sure. So of the four that were in the business, Bob's sister Stephanie was not in a management role and was but worked in the finance department, and that she was perfectly happy and comfortable with that, and continues to do that today. And then on the Hoffman side, there was Kurt Hoffman and Rob Hoffman. Both of them were in VP roles, in sales leadership roles. Rob, um, I think, being the oldest of that third generation, was ready for retirement, and he had retired probably, I want to say, about 5 years ago. I think it's been that time flies. Close to 4 or 5 years ago, Rob retired. And then Kurt Hoffman is still in the business. He's my chief technology officer and president, and he really didn't have an interest in being the CEO, and so I was kind of the groomed to take over that CEO role. And
Yeah, and you mentioned this, alluded to it a little bit, Nelson, but when you came in as CFO and then were promoted to COO, it sounds like this was pretty well known within the family ranks, right? That so and so was going to be retiring, so and so really didn't want this role. I mean, it was kind of like, we need a different succession plan here. And Nelson, you might be the perfect one.
yeah, the family was always really good about talking to each other and planning for the future, and that's where I think Bob and the members of the family that were in leadership were always really good about talking through and succession planning, and we've been really active with FBA, and it went way back to the beginning when the second generation came in. The families agreed to put specific rules in place about how next gens were going to be handled, and how they were going to be allowed to come into the business and or ascend to leadership roles and things like that. So they did a lot of really good work early, which unfortunately most family businesses don't do that hard work until it's too late, kind of last minute. but they were very, visionary about the subject, and really wanted to set the business up for, success. And, to their credit, uh, so many family businesses get tied up in family squabbles and, all
They
that kind of
do.
stuff. And they were really able to rise above that, and respect each other and work through any differences and things like that. So, which makes my life really easy.
Yeah, well, it surely does. And I mean, you're sharing something that I think is really, really interesting. It's not what you experienced there and what these families working together have experienced is not common. It's unusual. There's got to be some secret sauce in that approach. What do you think it was that made two different families, both with their families engaged in the business, so successful at running things, now moving down to third generation? What do you think that secret sauce is? Because I'm wondering what we can learn from that.
I think it was just mutual respect. I think it
Okay.
started with the founders, the two dads. They had high regard for each other. They had mutual respect for each other, and they each had their own skill sets and talents that they brought to the business, and they recognized that. And that's the way they went about making decisions. If they couldn't agree, things didn't get done. They wouldn't go down a path where they weren't both in lockstep. And that's kind of the way the second generation has continued to run the business. The families, the two families have been in lockstep, you know, and if they don't agree on a direction, then, there's a good chance that it's not going to move in that direction. So,
Right.
but I think it's respect. It's mutual respect for each other. I think, Bob as the CEO and the leader, has gone through great pains to always think and put the family dynamics in perspective, and has never wanted, um, has always kind of ran it in a way that is above reproach.
Yes.
And so I think that also, helped a lot, and goes a long way toward setting the tone for the rest of the family members.
Absolutely. It sounds to me like if we could sum it up, the first gen set some ground rules around things like mutual respect and how we're going to work together. And they held fast to that. Even though they were two different families, treated each other as if they were one big family when they came
Yep,
together as RoMan, right?
yep,
Um,
yep,
and when those ground rules were so firmly established and held to and adhered to by first gen, I'm making the guess that when second gen came in, they were just brought into this is the way we always do it. This is how we do it here. And
right.
if you're not, if you don't get with it, it's not going to work, right?
Yep,
Um, but that is really awesome. I think an incredible advice for others in the family business to recognize the importance of establishing what are our values, what is our culture, how are we going to do this, how are we going to make this work together, developing those ground rules, those rules of engagement, right? About
yep,
here's how we're
yep,
going to run the organization, and then holding each other accountable to stick to it. Because here you are now looking at third gen. And you and I talked a little bit about, have there been some hiccups along the way? Have there been any challenges? And you were very honest in saying, no, there really haven't been. I mean, things run very smoothly because of the foundation that was laid
right.
right out the get-go from those two owners.
Yeah, our values, we have five values that we live by at RoMan, that have, I think, we've codified them over the years, but it's what started is trust, integrity, quality, continuous improvement, and innovation. Those are the five values that we live and breathe every day at RoMan. And to go with those values, we created a set of 26 habits, that we review a habit every week, and we cycle through that twice a year. But it's habits, and it's basically putting descriptors around what the behavior is and what it means to so each core value has about 5 or 6 habits that support it and undergird it. And we talk about those every day as an organization. And one of the things that I felt was challenging my challenge stepping into this CEO role was to say, okay, you know, this organization has had great culture, and how do I take it to the next level
Sure.
and make it even better? And so I think a lot of the things I just drew from what was already happening. So we developed we codified the values. We created the habits. So we codified the habits. And we really a few years ago we really started to ask ourselves, why do people pick RoMan? Why? Why come here? You can go anywhere else. And we said, you know what, we need to come up with a strong purpose and passion statement for why. And we came up, a couple of years ago with our passion statement that says, we're about building a better world by transforming power and people. And, you know, power transformation is what we do as an organization and the products we do, but transforming people and the impact that we have on people is the other big thing we do. And it's something that we take great pride in at RoMan.
Absolutely. That is a great story. I want to pivot a little bit and ask you about your leadership team, right? Because
Mhm.
it sounds like you've got some family members on it, some third generation, right? So
Yep, we
what
have.
talk about what that's like to be the first non-family member leading this family business with third generation now part of your leadership team and reporting to you. How does that interplay work with your leadership team?
Um, obviously they've made it easy. Um,
Well, not obviously,
it's
Nelson. It's not always easy, right? I mean, I think you're gracious to say that, but it isn't always easy for everybody.
Actually, as I think about my journey from CFO to COO, during that whole journey, um, Bob had given me great autonomy, and I was able to, um, you know, working with Kurt and Rob and and the others, minority shareholders, that were executives that are now since out of the business, um, just really allowed me to build up my team over time, so that when the switch was flipped, my team was kind of already in place. But the working with Kurt, for example, who's still on my team, and he's a second gen, and as president and CTO. Kurt and I have literally uh, taken on the the same aura that the dads kind of had, as far as we talk to each other all the time. We bounce ideas off of each other, um, and we can debate issues and discuss and move forward. So from that perspective, that's a great partner to have with you as a second gen. There's a third gen who has we brought up over the years into this role as VP of operations, and and so he is the oldest of the third gens, and is obviously has his eyes and desires set on eventually, ascending, if that works out, into a role as a CEO of the business. Um, we have another third gen who just came on. Uh, the gentleman that I was just talking about, third gen that's been with us for, I was VP of operations, has been with RoMan for 23 years. And now we just have Kurt's son, who just started in the business about 2 years ago, and is a third gen who's now trying to work his way through the process. He's not currently on my leadership team, but I can see a path where he can, very soon end up in that C-suite conversation. So how all of those dynamics and again, back to the roots of respect. They respect me, what I bring to the table, and I respect them, what they bring to the table, and also just being cognizant of the fact that, hey, they're second and third generation, so pay attention. I don't need to do everything they say, but I should pay attention. So
Right, right. And it sounds like you take your responsibility there pretty seriously about getting them ready for their progression in the company and for what comes next.
absolutely. I mean, to me, defining what success looks like um, is obviously growing RoMan to being bigger and better than it was when I took it over,
Sure.
and
Yeah.
preparing it for the next person who's going to continue to grow it and make it better. Yeah, I consider that a key part of my role is to help identify and define who the right person is. And, I don't know that the family has made a decision that my successor has to be a third generation. It might remain as a professionally managed outsider. That decision hasn't been made. We're in the process. We're in the journey of trying to develop and bring the people through. I don't think anybody has any silver spoon expectations. I think that's where the family does a really good job of communicating amongst themselves and setting expectations.
Right, right. Really, which is awesome. I mean, you're going to find yourself as an organization probably in the best possible spot you could be with a really well-developed bench.
Yes.
I mean, you've got a great group of talented people that you're working with on the bench, getting them ready for whatever comes next in whatever form that is. And you're going to leave the owners, the family, with a decision to make about what they think is best for the organization. But boy, do you got a great bench for them to choose from, right? If
Yep.
they want to look
Yep.
into it, which only helps the organization long term. That's fabulous. So tell us a little bit in closing here. What do you enjoy the most in your role in leading a family business? I mean, I can tell it brings you joy because when you speak about it, you smile, there's energy, there's passion, which is so great to hear and feel really in our conversation. But what is it that you like the most about this role, Nelson?
Uh, you know, it's hard to encapsulate. I get up every morning fired up, excited about coming to work. I just enjoy the work. I really enjoy the latitude and the trust and confidence that the families have placed in me to steward their fortunes.
Yeah, it's an
As you
awesome
may,
responsibility, isn't it? It's really
yeah,
awesome.
and then it's just about the people. The people that are here, that you just, you feel passionate about, really making things better for everybody. It's not just about the owners, it's about, all the other stakeholders that are here. We got customers, we got vendors, and we got employees, associates that depend on RoMan for livelihood. And when you think about touching lives and um, impacting lives, I take that as an awesome responsibility, um, to be able to lift people up and pour into them and just see them succeed. You know, there's people that have left RoMan that is like, hey, great, I'm happy that we could help you, you know, in your journey down the road. And so yeah, that's kind of that's part of the legacy that I think RoMan is about. And I think it's part of the legacy that I subscribe to as well, that you know, we can build products and we can build, you know, structures and things, but helping people, you know, build better lives and things like that, that's where the magic happens.
Agreed. Yeah, yeah. And I can see that you do a great job with that and you're passionate about it. It must be just a joy for you to come into work every day and a joy for your team to work with you.
It's fun. It's stressful sometimes, but it's fun. And sometimes they don't like me very much.
Territory, territory. But yeah, it is just, it's super fun to hear your story of RoMan Manufacturing, how you got there, what the family developed, and how you, as a non-family member leading in that business, are taking it to the next level and preparing them for what comes next. We really appreciate your time today. And let me ask you, Nelson, if our listeners heard something that they would like to reach out to you about or follow up with you in some way, what's a good email address that they could reach out to you at and fire off a question if they had one?
Sure. It's N Sanchez at romanmfg.com. And yeah, any inquiries, you can shoot me a note and I will try and make sure I respond as quickly as possible. And
You
make sure
do
you
respond.
make sure you make reference to the podcast so that I know what you're looking for.
Reference that, you betcha. Well, we appreciate your time today. We have been talking for the past few minutes with Nelson Sanchez, who is the CEO of RoMan Manufacturing in Grand Rapids, a great legacy of a company with founders going back now to the 1980s. And we're so excited that you were willing to be our guest and share with your experience, which has been fantastic in leading this great organization. Thanks for being our guest today, Nelson.
Thank you. My pleasure.